Welcome to the Shreveport Connection with Tommy. Okay, if you don't notice, I'm wearing my new Jeff Hardy t-shirt. It came in the mail earlier this week, along with the RVD t-shirt in my previous videos, as well as the Pope. The other one was just a random TNA Wrestling logo t-shirt. Same color as this one. Okay, this is going to be about the TNA Wrestling Lockdown pay-per-view and also other TNA Wrestling Superstars news. Okay, first off is Matt Hardy posted a couple of videos within the last few weeks. One that was removed within 15 minutes of him putting it up. The one that was removed was named the NWO Shane Helms. According to multiple witnesses' accounts, Hardy appeared in the video while a friend of his uttered numerous homophobic slurs. TNA Wrestling officials are reportedly aware of its content and thus had it removed. Twitter reinstated TNA Wrestling President Dixie Carter's account as well, and because it was suspended sometime within this or last month due to the breach of the microblogging service's terms of use. A background image featuring a photoshopped verified account badge was recently uploaded to the page. However, only Twitter may indicate that an account is verified. Their terms of service reads misuse of Twitter badges. You may not use a verified account badge or promote products badge unless it is provided by Twitter itself. Accounts using these badges as part of a profile picture, background images, or in any way that falsely implies affiliation with Twitter will be suspended. Numerous users reported a violating account to Twitter, which led to the suspension. Image was recently removed. Okay, and Carter recently stopped tweeting for a while after getting barraged with a multitude of negative messages concerning herself and TNA Wrestling. Her suspension from Twitter spawned a fake account, which Hulk Hogan bought as legit. The phony account asked Hogan to retweet news concerning TNA in Australia, and as he did. Mexican-American member Anarquia has been added to TNAWrestling.com's roster page, and he had his first pay-per-view today. Okay, former TNA Knockout Tracy Brooks worked last weekend's TNA Wrestling Live event tour, answering TNA's Women's Knockout Champion Madison Rain's open challenge on 3 consecutive shows. Rain beat Brooks in Erie, Pennsylvania and Cleveland, Ohio, but came up short on Saturday night in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but it wasn't for the title. Following matches appearing on TNA's new Mick Foley DVD, Hardcore Legend, which comes out on April 19th, which is just a few days away. Okay, Mick Foley's TNA Wrestling debut in September 2008. TNA Genesis 2009, Mick Foley, AJ Styles, and Devon versus Booker T, Scott Steiner, and Kip James. Sting and Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett and Mick Foley. Mick Foley interviews Cactus Jack. TNA Lockdown 2009, Sting versus Foley for the world title. Victory Road 2009, Angle versus Foley for the world title. Bound for Glory 2009, Abyss versus Mick Foley in Monsters Ball match. Final Resolution 2009, Abyss and Mick Foley versus Raven and Stevie Richards. And from TNA Impact, Jeff Jarrett versus Mick Foley, and as well from Impact, Ric Flair versus Mick Foley. Okay, Kurt Angle's lawyer was in North Dakota courtroom earlier and pled guilty to for reckless driving from the incident in late March, where his vehicle was found parked in the median of Interstate 29. Angle claimed he had hit an icy patch on the road, but state troopers who worked the call reported that the road was dry. Angle failed the field sobriety test and was taken to the local jail, where it was found that his blood alcohol level was .083, above the legal limit. Angle received a suspended jail sentence of 10 days, which he does not have to serve, but now must pay $475 fine, serve a year of unsupervised probation, and undergo a chemical dependency evaluation. Okay, Madison Rayne recently became the longest running TNA Women's Champion, knockout champion of all time until tonight, besting Awesome Kong's 178-day reign with the title from October 23rd, 2008 to April 19th, 2009. As of the report that I read, it was she's held it for 188 days. I believe that was yesterday. And she defended her Knockouts title tonight at Lockdown, which she lost it in the title match. And it didn't even last but 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, Cookie said on her Twitter account that she missed yesterday's TNA Fan Interaction event in Cincinnati due to flight issues with Delta Airlines. Isis the Amazon, formerly of WWE, who competed in a dark match for TNA Wrestling 2 months ago, is denying online reports that she will be debuting for the promotion. But yet, I've read otherwise. Within a month, she may be in TNA. And this is why you don't trust dirt sheets. I never alluded to that. She wrote on Twitter in response to the message saying that she would be debuting for TNA soon. The rumor is that Isis will debut soon alongside Kurt Angle to assist him in his feud with Jeff Jarrett. Okay. Alex Marvez of ScriptNews.com recently interviewed TNA champion Sting, who had some interesting things to say about why he decided to stay with TNA instead of signing with WWE. Possibility of him working a future WrestleMania, and his debacle of a match with Jeff Hardy at TNA Victory Road. And here are some highlights of what Sting said about. Okay, he said about deciding against signing with WWE. I'm not going to lie to you. Who wouldn't want to say that they did WrestleMania at least one time? It's the ultimate event in wrestling. It's still in the back of my mind. There's a chance of it happening someday, somehow. I think time may have run out completely now, but who knows. Timing couldn't have been better to work WrestleMania, but I'm glad it turned out the way it did. Sting said in the past that he is not confident that WWE would portray his character in a good light, and also cited that personal reasons that I don't want to talk about as reasons why he never went to WWE. Okay, his TNA contract, which pays a lot and doesn't require many appearances, after 20-something years, is that okay? Hulk Hogan is in a similar boat. The difference between me and him is that he's not in the ring. Lord willing, I hope he gets back in there. But here I am, still at my age of 52, bouncing around. Some of the other guys in WWE have the same deal, like The Undertaker and Shawn Michaels before he left. After a while, some of us just can't hold it together anymore. I think I'm going to doing a pretty good job holding on here. His match with Jeff Hardy. He comments about from the Victory Road. On my first pay-per-view, back with TNA, and my first world title match, are you kidding me? Borden said that that is his real name. I was already trying to overcome the O. They didn't put the title on him again, did they? He's a dinosaur stuff, and you can add all that you want. What just happened? I know everyone's first reaction is, wow, they're really trying to get Sting over to the fans so much that now it's ridiculous. They've totally ruined Jeff Hardy. Well, Jeff Hardy actually ruins himself. And the TNA is actually trying to get him to come back, but they want him to go to rehab. You know the real scoop? This is not what I wanted, he quoted, and had something really good planned out as was ready to have an incredible match with Jeff that night. Very disappointed and hurt, so is everyone else. The ripple effect of that Hardy match is bigger than you can imagine. Christopher Daniels was originally scheduled to return to TNA Wrestling as a Suicide character this time, again. But plans were ultimately changed with the AJ Styles injury, supposedly, which he returned tonight. I'll tell you when I get to the main event. He reached out to WWE during his hiatus from the Nashville-based organization, but failed to secure the contract. Which I didn't see any dark matches or tryouts at all. So I don't think that's very correct at all. The feeling is within WWE that he's too small, not to mention old, as he is 40. He has continued to appear for Ring of Honor while also working for TNA Wrestling. Inc. versus Douglas Williams. And Magnus is a featured match on this week's episode of TNA Explosion. TNA Wrestling posted an image on their shop website today actually it wasn't today, it was earlier this week, of a RVD t-shirt, but it was not written on as the bottom of the shirt. As opposite to RVD, the image was quickly deleted and replaced by the intended one. And that source came from PW Torch. I believe I do have a copy of that on my hard drive here. As you can see, the shirt on the bottom says RDV. So I guess they're trying to say Rob Damn Van. Alright, that was my funny. Okay. And back to the results. Matt Hardy in his latest video blog had shown that his brother Jeff is considering retirement from pro wrestling and may need some serious back surgery. Busted Open Satellite Radio Show with Mickie James is hosting. The hosters were Dave LaGreca and Doug Norman. It airs Monday and Wednesdays on Sirius 125 and XM 241 from 2 to 4 Eastern Time. Okay, James, and they also are on Facebook.com/BustedOpen for more information. And she comments on her match at Lockdown and wrestling with a separated shoulder, and that she's the new champion tonight. Really excited about it. I'm going in there with a separated shoulder and hopefully to be able to tough through the match. I'm feeling better every day, honestly, and trying to get more range of motion back, and I definitely hope physically to be 100%. I don't think my shoulder will be 100%, but luckily, if my left shoulder, luckily it's her left shoulder and not her righty. Very similar to me, I'm a righty as well. So that kind of helps, so she says. Okay, then she reflects on the tremendous cage match she had with Tara on Impact a few months back. The match with Tara was the first cage match she's ever been in. That was definitely a very scary thing. Don't think I thought about it before now. How high the cage actually is and how scary it is. You see the guys do the crazy stuff like that all the time, and it's like that to think nothing of it, or maybe the same things running through their mind when actually they get up there and go, oh God, this is really high. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure because it was so much of an amazing match in itself. To be able to compete against myself in the same kind of match and going into the kind of injured anyways, it's definitely one of those things that I have to be aware of and be careful of. And her thoughts on Edge's retirement due to injury. He's really just a genuinely nice guy. I have nothing but the utmost respect for him and what he's done into the industry and the legacy he has built for himself. Before him, the whole ladders match thing with him and the Hardys and the Edge and Christian Faith, that was really a raising the bar level on that whole deal, and just everything he's done since then. It's sad that due to injury, he has to retire due to the fact that it has taken a huge toll on his body. But at least I think it's very intelligent of him, and she has huge pride. It's a huge pride swallowing thing to recognize the fact that can't physically do this, but he putting my life on the line, and it's just my body, not just my body anymore. And for him to have to do that, and I'm sure it's not something that he wanted to do at this moment in time, as he's only 36 years old. It's something we have to come terms with. We all can't wrestle forever, but I think he has is so talented, and there's many other things that he can do that's going to continue him going out there and doing the things that he does. James and Kurt Angle re-signing with TNA. I love Kurt. He's awesome. He's got so much going for him with the Angle Foods thing, and that's starting to take off, and it's really a cool thing. He has such a name for himself anyways, and to be the only man to hold an Olympic gold medal and everything he's already done, I'm sure he doesn't have to continue to wrestle, but he just loves it so much. And he's also going to be wrestling for an indie fed in the upcoming month. He has such a huge passion for and love for this business. It's just amazing. I think we're very honored to have him as a part of the TNA roster. Mickey's midterm report card on TNA, where they're being on the roster for about 6 months or so, having a blast. It was definitely something that I was still on the fence whether or not I should go or not. And was coming to be able to bring or do that is different than anybody has already done. It's been a fun journey, a cool locker room. I've made some cool friends that have been able to do some really compelling stuff and raise the bar even for myself to be able to main event Impact and do my first cage match and have a cool storyline with Tara. Go on to Madison and have a compelling storyline with her as well. I think it's really brought a different spice to the show. Hopefully, TNA they feel the same. Okay, TNA Explosion. TNA X Division champion Kazarian paid tribute to WWE Star Edge as well, who announced his retirement from professional wrestling yesterday. He wrote on Twitter, "True class act. A boy with a dream is now a man who has left behind an incredible legacy. Thank you for all you have given." Since undergoing back surgery, Hulk Hogan has gotten himself in much better shape than he's been in recent years. The procedures have been a huge success in terms of reducing the level of pain as he has been dealing with on a daily basis. While no one within TNA Wrestling has confirmed plans for the wrestling legend to return to the squared circle, it's now considered a possibility for this year. TNA officials have been discussing rebranding the company as well. Okay, basically that was renaming it, in other words. And there's been talk about doing the new branding campaign, which will focus more on the word Impact. This doesn't necessarily mean they will be changing the name, but they will be pushing the Impact brand of the show harder and will have a bit of different look for it on TV. TNA changing their name has been discussed for months, but Dixie Carter had always been against it because they have spent so many years marketing that name. And they are currently strongly pushing Jeff Hardy to attend rehab. And that was from TNA. Also from, that was Monday Night Mayhem, following highlights of Eric Bischoff's interview with Monday Night Mayhem, where he talks about Jeff Hardy. I shouldn't be and can't understand why I feel the way I feel. Therefore, I certainly can't explain it, but I'm still angry at Jeff Hardy. So it's hard for me to discuss what I think he could do or should do in the future of TNA, because until I quit being angry at him about the situation, whatever would come out of my mouth would probably be counterproductive. The last pay-per-view was what it is, not because of any other reason than the piss poor judgment of one individual. Had that not occurred, people would have a much more different opinion of that event. Tonight's TNA Lockdown pay-per-view starts now. Opens up with a video package focusing on Lethal Lockdown. Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett's match ends up in a 2 out of 3 falls match, and thoughts of TNA World Title match itself being a triple threat. The theme tonight is blood and lots of it. Nothing can prepare you for what's next. What do you call it? The background speaker. And we're live from the U.S. Bank Arena in Cincinnati, Ohio, as Mike Tenay welcomes us to Lockdown, reminding us that every match tonight is inside a steel cage. X Division Champion, X Division Escape match: Jay Lethal versus Suicide versus Chris Sabin versus Robbie E versus Max Buck versus Jeremy Buck versus Amazing Red versus Brian Kendrick. Out first for tonight's opener comes Chris Sabin. The last 2 wrestlers in the match must escape to win. Out next comes Robbie E with Cookie. Winner of this match will get a shot at Kazarian's X Division title. Out next comes Max Buck, Jeremy Buck, Amazing Red, Jay Lethal, Brian Kendrick, and finally Suicide. Suicide enters the ring and everyone goes at it. Things finally settle and we're doing tags now. Max and Jeremy come in, but don't want to fight. Max tags in Lethal. Jeremy and Lethal go back and forth. Lethal with a backbreaker, and then the Lethal combination. Max tags himself in, and so does Suicide. Max turns around, and Suicide hits the clothesline. Hits 2 clotheslines and an elbow to the chest. Robbie tags himself in and saves Max from Suicide. Robbie with a quick pin on Suicide out of nowhere. Suicide's eliminated. No reaction to Suicide being eliminated. Jay Lethal comes in and he has words with Robbie. Chris Sabin comes in and he takes turns hitting Robbie with Lethal. They throw Robbie into the cage. Sabin takes advantage and rolls Lethal up for a 2 count. Sabin and Lethal go at it. Lethal with a big drop kick and a 2 count. Red takes himself in and hits a big drop kick on Sabin from the top. Lethal with chops on Red. Red comes back with a counter and kicks Lethal in the head. Red hits an awesome power bomb variation to pin Lethal. Lethal is eliminated. Red and Sabin go at it now. Red ends up on the ropes and back kicks Sabin. Red comes off the ropes, but Sabin catches him in midair for a suplex. They trade counters and Sabin wins it with a sit-down power bomb. Seems like the bubble bomb. Sabin runs the ropes 3 times and hits a huge clothesline to pin Red. Amazing Red is eliminated. Max Buck comes in and next and unloads on Sabin for a 2 count. Max and Jeremy taunt each other a bit. Max charges Sabin, but he moves out of the way. Sabin with a running shot in the corner. Sabin hits Max up in a tree of woe and hits a hang time drop kick. Sabin with a roll up for a 2 count. And back and forth action now. Max hits a neck breaker from the top to pin Sabin. Chris Sabin is eliminated. Kendrick runs right in and scores a 2 count. Robbie comes in next and goes to work on Kendrick. Kendrick with a kick to the face and a drop kick. Kendrick and Robbie collide in the cage wall. Max goes to the top with a moonsault, but Kendrick puts his knees up. Jeremy is tagged in and drops his brother Max with rights. Max starts climbing the wall, but Jeremy pulls him down. They go at it Jeremy throws Max face first into the cage 3 times and then spin kicks him into the mat. Jeremy mounts Max with the right hands down. Max rolls Jeremy up out of nowhere for the pin. Jeremy Buckets eliminated. Kendrick runs right for the cage while Alto escapes. Max comes after him and beats him to the mat. Max goes to escape the cage, but Kendrick grabs his foot. Max lays Kendrick out and comes in back in the ropes. Max launches Kendrick into the top rope and into the top turnbuckle with a power bomb, and then throws him into the cage wall. Max climbs up again, but Kendrick comes up, and they meet on the top rope and fight it out. Kendrick slams Max's head into the cage wall, knocks him to the mat. Kendrick almost escapes, but Max hits the referee somehow, causing Kendrick to fall to the mat. Max takes advantage and escapes the cage to become the number 1 contender for the X Division title. So, yeah, Max Buck is the number 1 contender for the X Division. Alright, then they go to Tenay and Taz. He talks about tonight world title match. Eric Bischoff's music hits, and out he comes to do a speech in the cage. Bischoff says tonight is a very special night for him personally, and one of the happiest nights he has in his business in years. Bischoff goes on, and the crowd starts as a "You suck" chant. Bischoff says he may suck, but he has a lot more money than anybody in the arena. Tonight is special because Immortal is going to take care of the problem that Fortune has become. Bischoff says he gets to be a part of Hulk Hogan's vision tonight of getting the world title back in his grasp. Bischoff doesn't mention much, and then it walks off. I didn't actually hear what he was saying, so I had to go to the wrestling results for that, because the sound had been going in and out during the whole pay-per-view. Okay, and then they got cut to backstage with Christy Hemme and Crimson and Scott Steiner, as Crimson and they were doing their normal bodybuilding warm-ups. Of course, Papa Pump was doing his little bar things and what have you, and Crimson was basically doing, you call them little things, and doing his Kurt Angle type of moves as well, where he stands up, gets on his knees, hops back up. It's like doing a rowboat type of move. All right, and she's talking to Crimson. Crimson says that there's nobody he'd rather have watching his back than Scott Steiner. He says it's going to be an honor to team with Steiner tonight. Amy asked Steiner about evaluating the other teams tonight. Steiner says evaluating is for punk asses. Steiner goes on and puts over the city of Cincinnati. Steiner says that they're going to kick somebody's ass tonight. British Invasion versus Inc. versus Eric Young and Orlando Jordan versus Scott Steiner and Crimson in the cage. Of course, all the matches were in the cage tonight. We go to the ring, and out first comes Team Inc. Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal. And then you got British Invasion members Magnus and Douglas. That is Douglas Williams. We're out next, followed by a team of Orlando Jordan and Eric Young. The Freak and Psychic team from WWE, from BWE Universe. Okay, I lost my spot. Alright. Scott Steiner and Crimson are out last as the crowd pops most for them. It's going to be Young and Neal starting things out. Bell rings and Young starts climbing the cage. Everyone looks at him because you can't escape to win in this match. They finally lock up, and Neal applies a headlock. They go at it until Shannon Moore comes in. Moore takes control of Young and works him over. Williams tags himself in and tries to backdrop Young. Young slides out of it and tags in Orlando Jordan. Jordan and Williams lock up, and they go back to the corner. Magnus tags in, and they double team Jordan. Jordan turns it around and fights them both off. He rubs all over Magnus in the gay factor, the gay character that he is, as he does this in many of his matches. Of course, it's in the corner, and in the clotheslines Williams. Neil takes himself in, and next, and goes at it with Magnus. Magnus hits a big clothesline and takes Neil back to the corner. Williams comes back in with a double team, and they double team. 2 count by Williams. More double teaming by the Brits. Crowd starts chanting for Steiner to come in. Magnus hits an elbow from the top for a 2 count on Neil. Brits continue to double team in the corner. Neil fights them off. Tags in Crimson. Crimson goes at it with Magnus. Crimson with knees to the head and a big neck breaker for a 2 count. Crimson and Magnus collide in midair with clotheslines. Crimson tags in Steiner as William comes in also. Steiner clotheslines the Brits and drops an elbow on Magnus. Steiner stops to do his push-ups taunt and hits a big backdrop on Williams. Steiner with a belly suplex on Williams after dropping Magnus. Steiner with another suplex to Magnus. Steiner goes over and decks Shannon Moore. Eric Young comes in and Steiner throws him with an overhead suplex also. Steiner takes Magnus up top, but Moore tags himself in. Moore mocks Steiner. Steiner with a top rope belly suplex on Magnus. Steiner takes Williams up top also. Moore keeps tagging Steiner and antagonizing Moore. Then Moore is equal now and goes to work on Williams in the corner. Eric Young comes in and drops Moore, but gets decked by Williams. Moore comes in for a pin, but Orlando breaks it up. Neil comes in now. Spears Orlando. Neil turns around to a big move from Crimson. Crimson turns around into a slam from Magnus. Magnus turns around into a big overhead suplex from Steiner. Young drops Steiner with a missile drop kick from the top. Young goes to climb the cage again, thinking he can win by escaping. Moore and Magnus go at it now. Moore with a Moorgasm for the pin and the win as Eric Young hits the floor thinking he has won the match. Winners of the match is Inc. And they go backstage with Christy Hemme again. Talking about the Knockouts title match and how she's rooting for Mickie James. Madison Rayne and Tara walk up and start giving her hell. Again, the sound went out, so I didn't hear this. Hemme says that this might be the last night that she has the belt. Madison asks her what in the night she read that on. Madison talks about winning and cutting Mickey's hair tonight. She goes to demonstrate it on Tara. Tara backs off and squares up. Madison tells Tara she doesn't need her tonight. Madison tells Tara to stay in the back tonight. Tara mocks Madison as she walks off. Hair versus TNA title match is up next. Match lasted about 3 minutes, I believe. Then we go to the ring. Out first is Mickie James. Mickey's shoulder is still bandaged up, and she's already holding her arm. Out next is the TNA Knockout Champion, Madison Rayne. Rayne waves to the fans as she makes her way down. She's got a bag with scissors, clippers, and other stuff in it. Madison finally enters the ring and here we go. As soon as the bell rings, Mickie attacks Madison. Mickie throws Madison into a steel cage, works her over real quick. Mickie hits a jumping DDT out of nowhere for the pin. Win and the Knockouts Championship title, all while holding her shoulder. Like I said previously, she can win with one hand tied behind her back. Big country. My girl, Mickie James. After the match, Madison is helped out of the cage while Mickie celebrates. Okay. Backstage again with Christy Hemme and Matt Morgan. Morgan says he's putting his sights back on the TNA World title after tonight, but first he's going to carbon footprint Hernandez back to Mexico. And we get highlights of the Pope and Samoa Joe's feud, which that matches up next. We go to the cage, and out comes first the Pope. Samoa Joe's out next to a decent reaction. The bell rings. Here we go. Joe charges, but Pope dodges it and is weary to begin. Pope starts climbing the cage. Joe pulls him back down, but Pope hits him with a back up from it and clotheslines Pope. Joe drops Pope in the corner with right hands. Joe with a big shot in the corner, dropping Pope. Joe with more offense, including chops and right hands. Starting and Pope around the ring. Pope pulls Joe's face into the corner and goes to work on him with the body shots. Joe fights out of it with a big body shot. Pope climbs the cage, but so does Joe. They fight up to the top rope. Joe headbutts Pope and sends him into the cage. Pope falls onto the rope. He sings a high note from this drop from the ropes. Onto the ropes, actually. Joe runs the ropes and kicks Pope from the rope down to the mat. Pope is out in the corner, and Joe drives the bottom of his boot into Pope's face now. The referee gets in the way, allowing Pope to take advantage and drop Joe. Pope rakes Joe's face now. Pope starts kicking him and punching Joe on the rope now. Joe responds with right hands and kicks of his own. Pope drops down with an uppercut on Joe and a 2 count. Pope with a headlock now. More back and forth action until Pope gets a 2 count. Pope with kicks and big chops now. Pope charges, but Joe catches him with a big slam. Pope and Joe get up. They trade big slaps to the face. The slaps continue until Joe unloads with a dozen or more left and right hand slaps. Joe drops Pope. Hits a big backsplash for a 2 count. Then goes up top, hits a big leg drop on Pope for a 2 count. Pope ends up top, and Joe nails the muscle buster, but only gets a 2 count. As Pope put his foot on the bottom rope, Pope went to climb out again, but Joe pulls his tights, exposing Pope's rear end. Pope knocks Joe back to the mat and fixes his trunks. Pope hits a big elbow from the top rope for a 1 count. Joe comes back with a clothesline. Pope counters with a big knee and a 2 count. They trade shots now. Joe throws Pope hard into the cage wall. Joe takes Pope back up and hits another muscle buster. Joe locks on. Rear naked choke for the win by submission. So your winner of the match, Samoa Joe. Go backstage and we see Hernandez and Anarquia, Rosita and Sarita hyping him up for his match. Christy Hemme walks up and asks him, what is Mexican America? Hernandez says that they are Mexican America. They all take turns shouting on the mic and walk off together. Highlights from the Hernandez versus Matt Morgan feud was up next. And your match is up next. Hernandez versus Matt Morgan. In the ring, up first comes Hernandez with his partner Anarquia and the TNA Knockout Tag Team Champions, Sarita and Rosita. Hernandez enters the cage as Matt Morgan makes his way out. The bell rings and they go at it hard. Morgan backs Hernandez into the corner and uploads with back elbows to the face. Morgan with a big splash and a big side slam for a 2 count. Morgan goes to the corner. Anarquia puts his legs from one of the camera holes, allowing Hernandez to come over and take control with shoulder blocks. Hernandez runs Morgan's face into the steel now as his team cheers from ringside. Morgan comes back and gets a 1 count. Hernandez responds with a big clothesline and some taunting. Hernandez chokes Morgan now until the referee breaks it up. Hernandez then throws Morgan into the steel again for a 2 count. The crowd chants for Morgan, but Hernandez continues the offense for another 2 count. Hernandez chokes Morgan in the corner with his boot now. Hernandez with body shots in the corner. Hernandez charges across the ring with a big spear in the corner. Morgan drops face first to the mat. Hernandez shows off as Morgan is laid out on the mat. Morgan gets up slowly. Hernandez turns around to a big clothesline. They both get up. Morgan fights Hernandez off with rights and a headbutt. Morgan drops Hernandez with rights and clotheslines. Morgan throws Hernandez into the steel twice as Mexican America looks on. Morgan throws Hernandez into the steel cage again. Hits a big back drop for a 2 count. Hernandez manages to counter and headbutt Morgan into the gut. Morgan comes back and takes out Hernandez. Sarita and Rosita climb on the cage to distract the referee. Anarchia climbs the cage, but Morgan knocks him off. Hernandez leaps off the top at Morgan, but Morgan turns around and nails the carbon footprint for the pin and the win. Winner of the match, Matt Morgan. Alright, after the match, Morgan climbs to the top of the cage and celebrates, motioning for the world title. Morgan hugs fans as he's headed to the back as he leaves, headed to the back, and Hernandez is taken out by Anarchia. Rosita and Sarita enter the ring with a microphone. She says, "This is typical of TNA, typical of USA. Only way to keep Mexican America down is by screwing them over," she says. Sarita asks why she's not the knockout champion. She says it's because people can't stand the fact that they're better. She says they have already taken over and plowed through every knockout on the roster. Dang, how many knockout tag teams are there? Not much to choose from. Okay, let's see, where was I at now? Okay. Back to where she was saying. Okay, she says that they will do what they want, when they want, and how they want. And then Rosita takes the microphone and says something in Spanish. Sarita says that means that they're not going anywhere. Velvet Sky's music hits, and out she comes to the cage, and Velvet enters and drops Rosita on her face. Velvet spills to Sarita and mounts her, slamming her head into the mat. Double-handed head to the mat. Velvet with a chop in the corner before kicking Sarita out, and that's ended that segment. 2 out of 3 falls match in the steel cage. Kurt Angle versus Jeff Jarrett is up next. And we go to the cage, and now first comes Jeff Jarrett with his wife Karen. They stop and kiss on the ramp. Out comes Kurt Angle to a nice reaction from the crowd. Referee Brian Hebner has Karen ejected from ringside immediately. She and Jeff argue with it, but she's forced to go to the back. But she interferes later in the match, which I will try to tell you at the main part of it. They lock up and go to the mat with a headlock. First fall is submission, and Jarrett applies a figure 4 early on. Angle tries to break it, and finally does. Jarrett makes it to the ropes, and the counter is forced to be broken. Angle comes back with a 2-bone suplex and the ankle lock. Jarrett breaks it, and they go to the corner. Jarrett runs into an elbow, but applies a sleeper hold. Jarrett takes it to the mat with a rear naked choke hold. Angle goes back to the ankle lock. Jarrett kicks out of it again. Angle charges and runs into the ring post. Jarrett with a kick to Angle's shoulder. Jarrett applies an armbar now. Angle rolls out, and it turns it into an ankle lock. Jarrett taps out, and Angle wins the first fall. I got up to get me a drink shortly after that point. So I didn't see fall number 2, but I read the results again for it. They go at it again. Jarrett eventually hit the stroke for a 2 count. Jarrett went for the top, came down, but Angle countered with a 2 count. Jarrett with a 2 count of his own. Both men get up and clothesline each other and go back down. Angle with a series of German suplexes, more back and forth. Angle hits Angle slam after countering the stroke. 2 count for Angle. They go up top, and Angle throws Jarrett down to the mat for another 2 count. Angle with a clothesline and a cutter out out of nowhere for a near fall, and then a quick 3 count afterwards. But that was a quick count by the ref, apparently. Angle argued with the referee, and Jarrett attacked from behind. Third fall must be decided by escaping the cage. Jarrett goes for the lock, but Angle stops him. Angle comes back and hits another huge series of German suplexes. Angle opens the cage door and goes to leave, but stops, turns around, shuts the door, and back at it. He wants to do more damage. Angle stops again, goes to leave again, but stops again. He shuts the cage again. And this time, he locks the chain back on. Angle puts the key down his trunks and goes after Jarrett. Angle throws Jarrett into the steel a few times. Angle rubs Jarrett's face into the cage, and he starts bleeding. They go up top. Angle beats Jarrett down with the right hand. Jarrett ends up under Angle and slams him down to the mat with a huge power bomb from the top. Angle lands bad and falls on his neck. Jarrett climbs the cage, but Angle charges from behind and hits an Angle slam from the top of the cage. The top rope, actually. Jarrett is really bleeding now. Angle goes for the cage door, but can't find the key. He forgot he put it in his trunks. I came back right at this point. Okay. Alright, well, where was I? Okay, Angle starts climbing the cage to escape. Gunner runs out and smacks the cage with a steel chair, stopping Angle from escaping. Angle climbs to the corner of the top of the cage and hits a huge moonsault from up top. Brooke Hogan can be seen going crazy in the crowd. Angle landed hard on the moonsault and is barely moving on top of Jarrett. Scott Steiner runs out and chases off Gunner to the back. Angle finds the key finally. Opens the cage. As he's escaping, the referee is checking on Jarrett. Karen Jarrett runs down and sprays something in Kurt's eyes. Angle can't see and goes back into the cage, clotheslining the referee on accident. Jarrett climbs out of the cage, but Angle grabs his ankle and applies the ankle lock. Kurt pulls Jarrett back in the ring. Karen slides him a guitar. Jeff turns around and breaks the ankle lock with a guitar shot to Kurt's head. Jarrett poses and goes to escape again. Angle stops him yet again. Karen is pulling Jeff's arm as Kurt has his ankle. Karen swings the cage door at Angle's head, and he falls back, allowing Jarrett to tumble to the floor for the escape win. Winner of their match, Jeff Double J Jarrett. After the match, Bloody Jarrett crawled up the ramp with Karen's assistance, and Kurt recovers in the cage, and they go to Tenay and Taz. Video package with highlights for tonight's world title match. And your world title is up next. Get this, and a TNA pay-per-view with your title not being your main event. Okay. We go to the ring, and out first comes RVD to a nice reaction from the fans. Mr. Anderson is up next. He stops on the stage and asks if there are any assholes in the building tonight, and then cuts a promo. TNA World Heavyweight Champion Sting is out next for the biggest pop of the night. No formal ring introductions as the bell rings and Anderson gets in Sting's face. RVD and Sting take turns knocking Anderson around. Sting hits a big stinger splash on Anderson and goes for the death lock. But RVD stops it. RVD goes at it with Sting now and kicks him back in the corner. RVD with a bulldog or standing moonsault for a 2 count. Anderson causes RVD's head to hit the cage, sending the cage door flying. Anderson and Sting go at it now. Sting goes for the death lock. RVD gets involved, and Sting applies a double scorpion to RVD and Anderson at the same time. Yes, a double scorpion death lock. It can be done. Okay, lost my spot. RVD stops it as he makes it to the ropes. RVD is at it with Sting now. Kicks him in the back to the corner. RVD with a bulldog, a standing moonsault for a 2 count. Anderson, I already read that. Okay, where was I at? Okay. The hold is finally broken. Sting and RVD collide, and they go down. Well, anyways, while this was being the deathlock was being held in, Anderson tried to make it to the ropes one way, while RVD was going the other way, and he actually made it to the ropes. All right. Anderson covers Sting for a 2 count. Anderson covers RVD now for a 2 count. Anderson with clotheslines for everybody and a neck breaker for a 2 count. He goes for the mic check on RVD, but Sting comes over. Anderson hits a double mic check on Sting and RVD at the same time. He gets a pair of 2 counts, more back and forth action. RVD with a big kick off the second rope. RVD hits a 5-star splash from the top rope on Anderson. Sting breaks the pin, and they go at it. More action until all three collide and go down. Hulk Hogan's music hits. Out he comes with a pipe. Well, this pipe it looked white looking, and it sounded like metal, but wasn't really metal. The only thing metal that I was hearing was the actual sound of it hitting the steel cage, the fence part. Because you know what the camera holds. Well, that's where he handed it. He actually handed the pipe to RVD, and RVD turns around, and Anderson takes it from him. Okay, RVD thinks about it a minute, but throws the pipe at the cage wall, pissing Hogan off. According to this one, I was thinking RVD still had the pipe, and Anderson picked up the pipe and laid out RVD with it. Anderson says that wasn't for Hogan and flips him off. Anderson drags RVD over, but Sting drops Anderson with a chest drop. Sting covers Anderson for the pin and the win. Winner of your match, that's still TNA Heavyweight Champion Sting. After the match, Sting celebrated as Hogan looked on from the ramp. Hogan tells Sting that they're going to see each other on his time, motioning to his watch. We see RVD and Anderson limping off as they cut away to Taz and Tenay. And now your main event, Lethal Lockdown match with Ric Flair, Abyss, Matt Hardy, and Brother Ray versus Kazarian, Daniels, and Beer Money, being Robert Roode and Cowboy James Storm. Ends up to be a handicap match because AJ Styles interferes at the end for his return, revenge, and the good guys win, of course. And I'll go to the actual action. They go to the cage, and out first as a lethal lockdown comes Immortal, Flair, Ray, Hardy, and Abyss. Fortune out next, the TNA Tag Team Champions Bear Money, X Division Champion Kazarian, and Daniels. Kazarian enters the cage first for his team. Matt Hardy tries to go in first, but it's Ric Flair stops him. Abyss steps up, and we'll start with Kaz. Bell rings, and they go at it. Abyss eventually connects with a big boot and beats Kaz down in the corner. Abyss chokes Kaz now as Ray yells at his face from outside of the cage. Abyss continues the assault, beating Kaz around the ring. Abyss goes to launch Kaz into the steel, but he breaks away. Kaz dodges Abyss in the corner and goes to the top. Kaz with a Hurricane Rana from the top. As the timer starts counting down, Kaz knocks Abyss into the cage wall and goes at it again with knees to the back. Kaz with a drop kick to Abyss and Abyss's head, and more kicks and stomps. The clock goes off, and the next man is Matt Hardy. Hardy and Kaz go at it while Abyss is down. Kaz with a big leg drop from the second rope. Kaz goes for a reverse pile driver, but Hardy counters it. Kaz runs into a big right hand from Abyss. Hardy grabs Kaz and applies his ice pick finisher. Didn't know he had another finisher. As Abyss stomps on him. Hardy and Abyss double team Kaz now. Hardy hits a side effect. That's one of the ones I knew about. And of course his Twist of Hate. Hardy holds on, has Kaz now as Abyss works him over. Timer goes off and the next man is Daniels. Daniels comes in and unloads on Abyss and Hardy. He throws Hardy into Abyss and they both drop. Daniels hits the best moonsault ever on Abyss and splashes Hardy in the corner. Daniels with a big knee stomp on Hardy and more stomps in the corner on Abyss. Kaz and Daniels with double team moves on Abyss now. Daniels with a big clothesline to the back of the head. Hardy fights off Kaz, but Daniels takes him out. Next man is Ric Flair as Daniels and Hardy, as Daniels has Hardy in a submission. Flair comes in with chops on Kaz and stomps on Daniels. Chop to Daniels in the corner now. Flair spits the beer money from the cage. Flair with more big chops on Kaz. Hardy drops Daniels, and Immortal has regained control. Hardy chokes Daniels on the ropes as Flair and Abyss beat up Kaz in the corner. Next man is James Storm. Storm comes in and spits beer at Abyss and drops him with knees. Similar to how Triple H, when he comes to the ring with the water, well, he did the same thing with Abyss. And eventually he takes the bottle that still has some beer in it, nails Ric Flair and busts his head open with it. And as I just said, well, Storm tosses Flair into the ring. It actually continues with Fortune in control. Flair goes to climb the cage, but Storm pulls him back in and spanks him. Next man in is Brother Ray. He comes in with a big clothesline on everybody with right hands, and Ray drops a big elbow on Daniels, and Immortal is back in control. Flair works over Storm now. Flair has to wipe the blood from his face with his old shredded pants leg. The last man in is Robert Roode. He fights off Hardy and Abyss. Roode with a big blockbuster on Abyss. Flair with big chops on Roode. Roode turns it around and hits chops of his own on Flair. Roode back drops Flair. Beer Money is with a double suplex on Ray. Beer Money do their taunt in the middle of the ring, and they drop the top of the cage with all the weapons. And you notice there's no winner with the escape of the cage either. Everybody goes at it as the weapons come into play. Abyss gets knocked out through the cage. Daniels follows him and takes him out with a trash can lid. Trash can lid shots. Man, Hardy starts climbing the outside of the cage and goes on top, similar to the Undertaker. And him and Daniels follows him up. They battle it out. Daniels and Hardy go at it on top of the cage. Hardy tries to leave the top. Hardy backdrops Daniels as he almost falls off the top of the cage. Daniels hangs on and comes back up top. Flair is getting pummeled out inside the cage by weapons. Hardy hits a Twist of Hate on the top of the cage. Beer Money continued to beat the hell out of Flair. Flair is a mess now with all the blood all over his face. You can't even see his eyeballs. Brother Ray and James Storm both get 2 counts now. Flair comes back and canes Storm with the Singapore canes or kendo sticks, whichever you want to call them, same damn thing. Roode catches Flair with a big spine buster. Daniels is laid out on top of the cage as Hardy has made his way back his way down, but from what I seen, he fell down. Daniels leaps from the top of the cage down on the floor, taking out Hardy and Abyss with the flying body press. Rude applies a figure four to a bloody Flair in the middle of the ring. Ray comes over with trash can shots to break that up. Ray with kendo stick shots and trash can shots for Fortune. Flair commands Ray to hit them all with kendo shots again. Flair joins in on the kendo stick fun. Ray rubs his hand in Daniels' blood and then smears it on his own face. Ray goes to cane Daniels again as AJ Styles' music hits as he comes to the ring to break up the melee. Styles makes a surprise entrance to the cage and unloads on Brother Ray. AJ poses and Flair comes to attack from behind, but Rude makes the save. Beer Money double team Flair as AJ beats Harlan Ray in the corner. Rude applies a nasty armbar move on Flair, making him submit for the win. Winners: Kazarian, Daniels, James Storm, and Robert Roode. After the match, returning AJ Styles poses with Fortune teammates as we go to replays of highlights of the match, then of the entire lockdown highlights. And they go off the air with the showing of the next TNA pay-per-view Sacrifice being May 15th, 2011, and that will end my results for the TNA pay-per-view. Thank you and have a good time.